hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Ogbanje Joseph. Please subscribe to this channel, share, like, as well as drop a comment on the comment section. Our topic today is titled, our lecture today is titled The Marginal Position of Africa in Contemporary Global Economy. That is the reason for the marginal position of Africa in contemporary global economy. Now, African condition of underdevelopment has manifested in the increasing inability of African countries, to provide the basic essentials of life to their citizens. Now, the problem of hunger, unemployment, diseases, illiteracy, socioeconomic anxiety, and insecurity have tended to overwhelm, the mass majority of the people, resulting in mass frustration, alienation, and disorientation of the citizenry. Now, the situation has been compounded by problems of repression and exploitation perpetrated by a decadent ruling class. Now, don't forget that the result is that today Africa's contribution to global GDP and industrial output is not only infinitesimal, but of course the physical quality of life index and other indicators of development in most acquisition, nature uses, misuses, or abuses are actually, of course, topmost. Now, the situation has been compounded by the problems of the repression and exploitation perpetrated by decadent colonial masters. Now, the most outstanding work to date, which examines the impact of colonial rule on development process in Africa, is Walter Rodney, in his work How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. Now, the account given in his book shows how Africa was robbed of her potential, specifically through slave trade, colonialism, imperialist exploitation. Now, Africa's current marginal position in the global economy must be placed in an historical context, that is, its colonial past and the manner in which the continent was integrated into the post Second World War order. Now, don't forget, the continent is no stranger to the deleterious effects of globalization. More than any other region in the world, Africa has paid a high price for globalizing policies of rival capitalist powers, as they strived, to expand the geographic bonds of capital, starting with the slave trade in 1650 and continuing under colonial rule after the Berlin Conference of 1884. The continent has been heavily drawn into the centers of capitalist accumulation, but always as a subordinate partner with the primary purpose of contributing to the development of the metropolitan powers. Now the post Second World War order has done very little to alter Africa's subordinate role in it. Now, what is the concept? Let us even look at what global economy is all about. What is the concept of global economy? Now, the global economy or world economy is the economy of the world. Now, it is considered as the international exchange of goods and services that is expressed in monetary units of account, which is money. In some context, the two terms are distinguished. That is, the international or global economy being measured separately and distinguished from national economies, while the world economy is simply an aggregate of a separate country's measurement. Now, beyond the minimum standard, concerning the value in production, use, and exchange, and exchange, the definition, representations, models, and valuations of the world economy vary widely. It is inseparable from the geography and ecology. Now, according to Perry, 1974, it is common to limit questions of the world economy exclusively to human economic activities, and the world economy is typically judged in monetary terms, even in cases in which there is no efficient market to help evaluate, certain goods or services, or in cases in which a lack of independent research or government cooperation makes establishing figures difficult. Now, let us look at the reasons, the reasons why, Africa, Africa's marginal position in global economy. What are the reasons? Now, the seemingly intractable nature of Africa's poverty runs counter to modern economic theory, leading to debate concerning its root causes. Now, endemic warfare and unrest, widespread corruption, and despotic regimes are causes and effects of what? Of the continued economic problems. Now, the decolonization of Africa was fraught with instability, aggravated by Cold War conflict. Since the mid-20th century, the Cold War and increased corruption and despotism have also contributed to Africa's poor economy. Now, let us look at the reasons for Africa's marginal position in the world economy. Number one is slave trade. The first tool that was used to create inequality in the global market was the transatlantic slave trade. Now, the Africans that were taken from the shores of Africa were more than 15 million. These people that were taken as slaves were the able-bodied young men and women that were supposed to work to bring about the development of the African society. So Africa was starved of labor force that should have developed the society as such. That underdevelopment of Africa led to the development of Europe. Number two reason why Africa has a marginal position in world economy is the incorporation of the African society to the world economy, the manner in which the African society was incorporated. Now, the world economy, according to the World Bank report of 2015, is controlled by the following 13 countries or regions that have actually reached an economy, of at least 2 trillion US dollars by GDP in nominal or PPP terms. Okay, what are those territories? We have Brazil, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Russia, the United Kingdom, the US, and the European Union. Now, the 54 African states have more than 1 billion people and have the economic richest, the world richest mineral resources, but they are still the poorest in the world. This poverty is because of their incorporation, the manner in which they were incorporated into the world capitalist economy, and their role, which is actually the production of raw materials for the Western world. So we have number 3, which is colonialism. And now, at the beginning of the 19th century, trade became the live wire of global economy, which was hijacked by the Europeans. Now, this almost led to the clash among the Western countries. Now, in 1885, the 7 European countries met in Berlin Conference and partitioned Africa, which brought about the genesis of colonialism. Now, colonialism intensified the underdevelopment of Africa, which led to the commodity production and that fulfilled the needs of the Europeans. Now, the effect of colonialism are myriad. Besides the introduction of commodity production and destroying African industries, it also imposed unfavorable division of labor, which made Africa specializes in primary products, to feed the industries in Europe. And lastly, it made Africa become a dumping ground. Now, number 4 is disarticulation of the African economy. Now, the various sectors of the African economy have only few, if any, intersectoral exchanges. Thus, agricultural production is geared into exports rather than for the nation's food consumption requirements and as industrial raw materials. Now, accordingly, countries with 80% of their population engaged in agricultural production are forced to import food. Now, raw materials are not produced for the consumption of indigenous industry. On the other hand, they must import most of its capital goods and raw materials. So there is little or no intersectoral connections and exchanges between agricultural sector and the industrial sector of the underdeveloped economy, particularly Africa. Now, the number 5 reason why Africa has a marginal position in the world economy is unevenness of productivity between sectors. Unevenness of productivity between sectors. Now, underdeveloped countries, particularly Africa, are characterized by relatively small, highly capitalized sectors on one hand, and low productivity, backward agricultural sectors on the other hand. Now, the low productivity sectors are big but subordinated, to the world market rather than existing independently as traditional economies. Now, these backward sectors, articulate with the world market by producing primarily for the capitalist market and only secondary for their own consumption. So that is actually number 5. Number 6 is domination from outside. Now, most production, whether agricultural, mining, or industrial, is geared to conditions obtainable in the world capitalist system as a whole. So foreign capital generally controls the divisive sectors of the economy and the economic decisions of the third world countries, particularly Africa. The next one is the role, that is number 7, the role of national bourgeoisie. Number 8, lack of infrastructure. Number 9, bad governance. Number 10, foreign aid. Number 11, low human capital development and underutilization of research development. Number 12, corruption. Now, these are actually the reasons, Africa has a marginal position in the world capitalist economy. Thank you very much.